Thank you all for joining us. My name is Constance Baird. I'm the Workforce Development Program Coordinator here for the Above the Line program. I use she, her pronouns.
And I'm Audra Lehman. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Director of Workforce Development at Washington FilmWorks.
Tonight, we're going to give you just a brief overview of Washington FilmWorks and our Workforce Development Program. We're going to talk about the Above the Line program, a little bit about, of course, the education forum that you're here to learn about, and just a brief touch on the mentorship program, which is the other half of the Above the Line. We're going to talk about the application process, walk you through it a bit. We're going to offer you some tips and tricks. And of course, we're going to answer any questions that you might have about the program. We're going to go ahead and jump right in, and Audra's going to give us an overview on Washington FilmWorks.
All right, never miss an opportunity to talk about Washington FilmWorks and what we do. So if folks aren't familiar, Washington FilmWorks is the statewide nonprofit organization that's legislatively commissioned to run various programs and efforts that are about creating economic development opportunities by building and enhancing the competitiveness and profile of Washington's film industry. So we've been doing this work for about 18 years, but in the past couple of years, our programs and resources and legislative investment have really increased significantly. So you might have been hearing more from us or about us. I'd like to just take a few minutes to talk through our programs and support in case it helps folks on the call to get a better sense of what we offer. We're here to talk about the Above the Line Education Forum, but there's lots of resources and programs that might be of interest. So we have our funding assistance programs, namely 2 funding assistance programs. Our production incentive program gives 30% back on qualified in-state spending for approved projects. This could include feature films, episodic series, and commercials that meet certain spending thresholds. We also have a funding assistance program called our Small Budget Production Initiative. Again, that's giving 30% back on approved projects. But these are approved projects that have budgets between $20,000 and $1 million and are creatively led by Washington residents. The other cool thing about the Small Budget Production Initiative is that it can support projects before they're fully funded by setting funds aside while folks complete their fundraising efforts. Both of these funding assistance programs can benefit from enhanced incentives. So approved projects in either of these funding assistance programs, if they meet certain spending thresholds, could access an additional 10% back through one of 2 enhanced incentives. And that's if you're spending the majority of your time filming in a rural county, which is 29 of the 39 counties in Washington state, or if you're telling the story of a historically underrepresented community. So in addition to our funding assistance programs, we also operate the State Film Office. This is a resource that's available to any filmmaker in the state, whether or not you're accessing funding assistance or any other program with us. You can get in touch with the Film Office and get some help. We have resources across the state, over 100 film liaisons across the state that can help with locations, permitting, and connections, depending on where you want to film. There's a great spot on our website if you go to our Film Office tab where you can tell us about your project, and I highly encourage you to do so. Get on there, let us know what you're working on. It not only helps us get connected to you and offer help, it also helps in our advocacy efforts to tell the larger story of all the filming and projects that are happening in Washington state. We also have a production directory where you can find crew and support services. If you're not in our production directory, I encourage you to get in there. This is, we share this with productions that come into the state when they're looking for crew. So make sure you create a profile there. There's also a really wonderful locations database on our website with locations across the state. Great opportunity to find locations, and you can upload your own locations there as well. And then, of course, our Workforce Development Office, which is where Constance and I do our work at Washington FilmWorks. Our goal in our Workforce Development Department is to really build the depth and breadth of the workforce in Washington state to meet the growing need of the film industry here. All of our focus in our workforce development efforts is on folks from historically underrepresented communities, and we'll share a little bit more around that definition in just a bit. So let's talk a little bit more about our Workforce Development Department. So we, in 2022, landmark legislation really created the workforce development focus for Washington FilmWorks and a mandate to serve historically underrepresented communities in that work. We launched the Workforce Development Office Forward, FWD. You can see the little logo there. So anytime you see that FWD logo, that's us. in the Forward Department workforce development efforts. You can get in touch with Constance or I or Jamil on our team if you have any questions about the work we're doing. We have done a few things to date. We had a forward funding initiative pilot last year that invested $129,000 across the state in workforce development efforts in 6 different counties. We have a media mentorship program that we've been running for a couple years, which gets folks who are entry level in the film industry onto some of our production incentive projects, onto those sets. This program will be evolving in the next year to have more folks trained and more placement sites, more places for folks to have those first experiences in film. And then we have our Above the Line Education Forum and Mentorship Program, which we will talk a lot about tonight. To date, this program has served 55 participants in the Education Forum and 8 folks in the Mentorship Forum, or in the mentorship itself. In addition to this, we're always building resources within our programs and our website, and our team is actively involved in creative economy advocacy alongside partners and collaborators across the state, helping to advocate for a creative economy workforce in Washington. All right, let's dig into the Above the Line Education Forum. So as we mentioned, the program is the Above the Line Education Forum and Mentorship Program. The first part of the program is the Above the Line Education Forum, and graduates of that program are then eligible to apply for the mentorship, which we'll talk a little bit about later on in this presentation. So right now we're going to focus on the Above the Line Education Forum, of which we hope folks are interested in applying. The Education Forum is designed to provide business of film skills to a cohort of early to mid-career Washington producers and directors. So I want to emphasize, and we'll get a little more into the curriculum, that this program is really around those business of film skills. This is what we heard from folks across the state that they felt like they needed most and they weren't getting access to or able to build their skill set around in other settings. And the program is really focused on folks that are in that mid-career space. You're going to get the most from the program if it's aligned with that point in your career. The success of this program, what we're measuring is we want folks to expand their knowledge and skills. We measure that throughout the program through lots of pre and post surveys and just talking to our participants. We want to build community connections and networking. So really it's about connecting with a larger cohort of emerging leaders and voices in Washington film, as well as the incredible number of panelists and instructors that we bring into the program as well. And then increased readiness. Really these 2 things, like all of our programs, if we're building skills and connection, it really helps increase readiness. And so that's not just readiness for the mentorship portion of the program, but readiness maybe to access one of those funding assistance programs that I mentioned earlier, like our small budget production initiative, readiness to take on larger scale projects, maybe to a higher industry standard or a larger budget level. Okay. Let's talk details. Here's an overview of the Education Forum. We're going to walk through this. So the next cohort, which is cohort 3, will start early next year, January 20th, and run through April 30th, 2026. Within that cohort, there'll be up to 25 producers and directors. Those folks can either have a narrative or documentary focus. The program itself is 15 weeks of online sessions, panels, and workshops. Typically, we're bringing in over 50 industry professionals as instructors and panelists for those sessions. The program itself is 5 hours a week. This next cohort will be Tuesday and Thursday evenings from 5:30 to 8 p.m., again, online. The Education Forum will culminate in a 2-day event in May 2nd and 3rd, 2026, and the program is available at no cost to participants. All right, let's talk about some of the supports that are available throughout the program. The program is available at no cost, and there's scholarship support for folks that are active participants in the program. So for active participants, there's up to $1,875 over the course of the program to support your attendance and engagement in the program. There's a slew of tools and resources that are really generated by the cohort, those instructors, panelists, and staff. So you'll have a ample toolkit of templates and tools and resources throughout the program. We have an online forum for discussion and resource sharing within the cohort and the alumni group of previous cohorts. The new contacts and networking is a huge support and benefit of the program. This is really connecting with folks across the state. We've seen in past cohorts, we have folks from all corners of the state in the program. So an opportunity to connect with other filmmakers that you might not have had a chance to connect with otherwise. And again, all those instructors and panelists as well. We also host alumni gatherings. As I mentioned, 55 folks have been through the program up to this point, and that alum group is going to continue to grow. So there's a larger network and community of folks that have gone through this program and want to connect. All right, this program's great. Am I eligible? Here's eligibility. So to be eligible for the program, you must be a producer or director. Again, I'll stress that early to mid-career is the point in your career where this program will benefit you the most. You must be a Washington resident, and that's really defined by, there's a residency declaration process that you've been a Washington resident for at least the last 6 months. You have to be over 18. You have to have a social security number or an ITIN, an individual tax identification number. This is for that scholarship support to make sure that we can provide that scholarship support. You have to be able to attend classes online. Again, it's all over Zoom. You can't have completed the Above the Line program previously. You can't be a member of staff or our board of directors. And you have to be a member of historically underrepresented community. And let's slide to the next slide. Well, we'll take a look at that definition. So again, within Forward, our work is focused on historically underrepresented community. And this is our definition. And I'm going to read it out in case folks are driving or can't see this because it's an important definition. So I'll read through it. An individual or group of persons who have been relegated to an unimportant or powerless position such that they are prevented from participating fully in decisions affecting their lives. People may experience further marginalization because of their intersecting identities. They are often communities or populations that face systemic economic, political, social, and cultural barriers, many of them embedded in local laws and norms. The term encompasses communities with a shared experience of marginalization stemming from circumstances beyond their control. Historically underrepresented communities often include Black, Latino, Indigenous and American Indian, Alaska Native, Native Hawaiian, Asian Americans, and Pacific Islanders, and other persons of color, members of religious minorities, refugees, migrants, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer persons, rural communities, formerly incarcerated persons, persons experiencing homelessness, and persons with disabilities. All right, with that, I'm going to hand it to Constance, and we're going to start talking about the curriculum within the program.
All right, as Audra mentioned, we call this the business of film skills. This is not learning to put together a film or to use your camera. Again, we are aiming towards folks who are in that mid-career range of producers and directors, and we're hoping to help you level up your business skills. As you can see here, we're talking about things like working in Washington State, different filming resources, some of which we've mentioned that we host here at Washington FilmWorks. We're going to walk you through with instructors through the legal basics about entity formation, fair use and licensing, deal releases and memos. Financing, we're going to talk about all the different kinds of financing, how to walk through building financing agreements through a legal lens, how to pitch your project to different audiences and what you might need to prepare in order to do so. We're going to be talking about budgets from all kinds of lenses, building a budget, working through your key budget expenses, again, from both a narrative and documentary lens. And same with marketing and distribution. We'll talk about things like point of view, finding your audience, building a marketing team, what strategies you might use, and the current distribution landscape. As we know, it's constantly changing. So we'll be aiming to represent whatever that might look like when we arrive at the beginning of next year. As Audra also mentioned, we are focusing this year on both narrative and documentary folks moving forward. Our first cohort was focused strictly on narrative folks. Our second cohort was focused on documentary filmmakers, and we are now combining tracks because we would not like to force filmmakers to wait a year to have to apply for the program. And we believe we've arrived at a way to do that. We're calling this a split track because you will not have to attend 100% of the classes in order to graduate. But I would highly recommend that you attend all of the things available to you. You'll be able to choose either a narrative track, where, as you can see, we'll focus on things like production paperwork, working with unions, hiring and managing a set, a budget and script breakdown. Or you can choose a documentary track talking about things like research and archival practices, complete with templates and different structures to use to make that functional. Talking about story structure with editors, working through budget practices that might work best for documentary film producers. All of these classes will be available to everyone, and I will say repeatedly throughout this process that while you only need to choose one, we have constructed the program in a way that all of the classes will, they will not be offered at the same time. So you'll be able to attend all of them if you so choose. And I would highly recommend it because I believe they'll all be a great resource to you, even if you find yourself solidly in one category or the other. Let's walk through the application process a little bit. We're going to talk through the window and timeline. We'll preview the questions that are going to be asked of you, and then we'll offer some tips and tricks to hopefully get you through the process a little bit smoother. So our window is coming up soon. Next week, it opens October 27th, and it closes October it opens October 17th and closes October 27th at midnight. And we do throw the midnight in there because I have seen all those applications come in at 11:59. I encourage you to get it in as soon as possible. Um, these applications will be reviewed. Yes, Pacific Standard Time. I see your question. These applications will be reviewed through a jury process, and we will do our best to notify those selections by mid-December. So you'll have a heads up that you'll be in the program beginning January 20th, 2026. That's coming up quick. This is an overview of our narrative questions, and I'm going to go ahead and read them aloud. Question number one, and I would recommend, as I'll share in our tips and tricks, that you open up a Word document and you answer these in a Word document separately before you begin the application process. That way you're really just copying and pasting by the time you are submitting an application. We have about a 500-word limit on these questions, and I recommend filling that space because within your application, you're going to be asked to submit some basic information about yourself. You'll see in the application preview, which I think Audra is just putting in the chat. But this is your chance to tell your story. This is how you introduce yourself to the jurors. This is how you represent yourself, your filmmaking career. This is how you really convince these jurors that you should be in this program, that you're going to make the most of it, and that this is your time. So I really recommend using those storytelling skills that you use in your filmmaking careers here in these narrative questions. So number one, please share more about your lived experience and how it impacts your perspective and storytelling. Number two, what specific business of film skills are you hoping to learn in the education forum, and how will you use this opportunity to further your career? Number three, what other business of film skills programs, classes, or opportunities have you engaged with or attended, if any? Please be specific. Number four, why is this the right time for Washington FilmWorks to invest in your success? Number five, what skills, talents, and perspectives will you bring to the group participating in the education forum? And number six, describe a time you called upon your leadership skills to address a problem on a film project. What happened and what did you learn? And again, I'll just offer being specific is good for every one of these questions. Tell your story, give detail, offer as much insight as you can, because They don't know what you don't tell them. This is really your place to do so, is within those narrative questions. All right, application preview. As Audra dropped in the chat, you're going to be submitting a resume for us. We'd like you to keep it to one page if you're able. We do want this to be film focused as much as possible. While some of your other jobs can be helpful to provide context, this is a film program, and so it's helpful to really see what your film experience has been, because as we've mentioned, we're looking for those mid-level career producers and directors. We would like to see a piece of filmed content that you worked on as a producer or director. It's got to be under 5 minutes. Under 5 minutes and not password protected. And then additionally, we would like you to list up to 5 projects that you feel best represent your work as a producer or a director in the last 5 years. And I'll say here that some of the application may offer you some context about whether this program is a right fit for you today in your career. If you've got these materials ready to submit, then maybe now's the time for you, and this is the right place in your career to be applying for the program. This also could be a barometer for now you know what to work up to, and maybe next year's the right time after you feel like you've got a little bit more credits under your belt, a little bit more opportunity working as a producer or director, some more things that you can submit in as far as your application materials. That might serve as a little bit of a barometer. I will also mention that previously we've asked our participants to submit a project with their application, and we no longer require that or ask for that. But I will say, as you've seen those business skills topics that we're going to be covering, budget, financials, marketing, and distribution, it is so helpful for you to have a project that you are working on while you are going through this program, because it is so helpful to be able to immediately apply the things that you are learning throughout this cohort and apply it directly to the project that you're working on. I think it really helps solidify the learning that's going to happen in the cohort. It can feel like a bit of a fire hose of information. And so while you do not need a project at all to apply for the program, it is helpful to have a project to be applying some of the knowledge that you're going to learn throughout the cohort. And now some tips and tricks. That uploaded content, again, please really focus on that film experience in your resume. That is really helpful, keeping it to one page if you can. That video content, it does need to be under 5 minutes, and it needs to be not password protected. That means it needs to be publicly viewable for us. Otherwise, our jurors will not be able to view it. My biggest tip for you is really to create that separate document now, because you have that application preview, that link that we've shared in the chat and that is up on our website for anyone to view right now. That is so helpful to be able to just start answering those questions. You've got plenty of time between now and when the application window opens to really create those thoughtful answers. And that way, when it's time to submit that application, you've already done all the heavy lifting. You're ready to go. We would love for you again to just be your own commercial. I think really think deeply about those narrative questions and selling yourself, your filmmaking career. Tell us why you are the best candidate for this program and how you're going to capitalize on this opportunity. Sell yourself and make the best case for why your perspective is so needed here in Washington State as a graduate of this program. We would really, we need your perspective, and we're not going to know it unless you tell your story within those narrative questions. So really think about that. Don't skimp on that word count. I would say double down on it. And my last thing is please just sign up for the directory. I'll have Audra maybe drop it in the chat again. We dropped it in there previously. The directory is a great place to be sharing your skill sets, to talk about what it is that you're capable of, and it's something that we share constantly with folks who are looking for other professionals in the area. So highly recommend signing up for the directory creating a profile and sharing what you're capable of. Let's talk just a little bit about the mentorship that Audra and I have alluded to. So, attending 80% of the required sessions, to make that clear, we've talked about this sort of dual track program. That means completing just one of those tracks. It's in total a 12-week session. There's a few weeks in there that are that dual track. So 80% of the required sessions, 80% will you'll be considered a graduate of the program and be able to apply for the mentorship. The mentorship program is 6 months long. We accept up to 5 filmmakers in that cohort. The same thing, they apply through a process and their applications are put through a jury review. That is really focused on a film project at that point, whereas that we feel like the education forum is focused on the filmmaker. The mentorship program is really focused on a project development. That project and filmmaker receive both a Washington State mentor and an out-of-state mentor, and they receive scholarship support as well. Once you graduate the ATL Education Forum, you are eligible for the 3 mentorship windows following your Education Forum graduation. So hopefully that is somewhat clear. 3 windows following your graduation. So not just the one immediately after yours, but yours and the 2 following that as well. And then just one more slide. We wanted to offer some clarity because now that we are in the 3rd iteration of this program, we've learned a few things, and we wanted to offer some clarity about what we've learned. Who is maybe the best ideal candidate to really capitalize on this program and make the best out of this? As I started in the beginning, this is not a program that's designed to be a film school. We are talking about those business of films of skills. So, we aren't going to help you put the film together at all, but we will help you with your marketing and distribution, and we will help you with the business plan to get your film out there. This program is also not designed to be a funding mechanism. We know that that is the #1 problem facing filmmakers out there right now. But unfortunately, here in workforce development, that is not what we are designed to do. We are designed to train up the workforce. And so that is what we are here to do, is to offer education and community and a training opportunity. And this is also not designed to be your introduction to the film industry. We hope if you are newer to the film community that this feels inspiring and something that maybe you can grow into if you're not ready just yet. But this is a program designed at the above the line level for producers and directors who are in their mid-career level, ready to level up their business skills, and really just dive into their film career in maybe a more intense way than they have been able to previously. So it is not the starting line, hopefully, for your film career. As I said, hopefully it feels maybe aspirational, something that you can grow into if you are feeling newer to the film industry. All right, I think we are ready to go ahead and stop recording, and we will